The moment we launched the Dunwich Horror, something felt wrong. You ever get that chill that creeps up your spine before anything even happens? Like your body already knows what your mind refuses to believe. Yeah, that's exactly how it started. The menu screen flickered. The background hum felt off, too deep, too alive. At first, we joked about it, thinking it was just another over-edited indie horror game. But there was something about the way the title pulsed, like it was breathing. It didn't feel static, it felt aware. We clicked start. The game loaded, but the usual sound cues, no footsteps, no wind, nothing, just silence. And then, right before the screen faded in, we heard it, a faint whisper, too soft to understand, but too clear to ignore. I remember glancing at my friend, laughing nervously, pretending I didn't just hear my own name. That was the first time my heartbeat started to race, and the last time I thought we were in control. When the scene finally appeared, we found ourselves standing in what looked like an old New England village. Everything was draped in fog, the streets empty, the houses slouched against each other like dying men leaning for support. The sound design was eerie, faint wind, distant creaking wood, but underneath it all there was something else. A hum, a low, vibrating hum, like the town itself was alive and watching us. We started moving forward, trying to figure out what we were supposed to do. Then a message appeared on the top left corner of the screen. Find the Wutley house is simple enough. Except when the words appeared, they didn't fade like normal text. They twitched, almost like they were written by hand, shaking, glitching, like someone struggling to breathe while typing. The further we walked, the heavier the air felt. Our characters' footsteps echoed longer than they should have. And then, out of nowhere, came this faint sound, whispering. It wasn't background noise, it was directional. It moved. At first, we thought it was ambient audio. Until it said my username, we froze. My friend's mic crackled. Did you hear that?" he asked. I didn't respond, because it said it again, louder this time, and this time it said his name too. We just stood there, staring at the fog, listening to our own heartbeats through the headset. We should have logged off then, but we didn't. Because curiosity in games like this always wins, and that's when the fog started moving. It wasn't weather. It was shape. Something was walking toward us, slow, heavy, but without footsteps. The closer it got, the more the screen distorted lines, static, the sound of scraping metal. Then suddenly the whisper stopped. The fog split apart, and all we saw were eyes, dozens of them, blinking in unison. The game went black. Then one sentence appeared. He's waiting. When the screen returned, we were standing in front of a massive house at the top of a hill. The Wutley house. Every window was shattered, every board soaked in decay. Thunder rolled in the distance, and somewhere a church bell rang, but the tower in the background was missing its top. We approached the front door. There was no enter prompt, just an interaction option that said knock. So we did. The sound echoed unnaturally long, like the house was hollow inside. The door creaked open on its own. No jump scare, just darkness, that kind of thick darkness that looks like it could swallow you whole. We stepped inside. The wood groaned beneath every step. There were candles burning in the hall, but no flame. Just light hovering in the air like ghosts trapped in glass. On the table near the entrance was an old tape recorder. My friend pressed play. The voice that came through was distorted, broken by static, but one phrase was crystal clear. He's still here. I felt my throat tighten. The recording ended. We turned around, and there, standing by the doorway, was another player model. But neither of us had invited anyone, and this game, it wasn't even multiplayer. We started panicking. We tried to open the menu, nothing. The pause screen wouldn't appear. The mouse froze for half a second, and when it moved again, it felt like someone else was controlling it. Then our microphones picked up breathing, slow, ragged, not ours. My skin went cold. The screen glitched, the image distorted, and for a split second, the character's face on screen turned toward us. Like it was aware of the camera, then everything went silent. We tried to quit. The escape key didn't work. The cursor disappeared. Suddenly, a voice whispered through the headset. Not from the game, from the mic feed. "You shouldn't have come here." The lights in my room flickered. My monitor pulsed, static bleeding across the image. And then the game showed something new, a folder on screen named Reality. When I clicked it, the game crashed. Except it didn't really close. The desktop stayed black, like something was still running. And faintly, just barely, I heard my own voice through the speakers whisper, "Don't look behind you." I turned off the PC. My heart was pounding, hands shaking, but curiosity got me again. I booted it back up. The game reopened itself automatically, straight to a scene we hadn't reached before. The town was gone. Just a field of writhing shapes moving under the soil. The objective text appeared, "He is awake." Then, out of the static, a massive figure started forming. Its body was wrong, too tall, too bent, like gravity didn't apply. Its skin looked stitched together from shadows, its mouth too wide, filled with whispering voices instead of sound. And the game forced us forward. The controller vibrated even though vibration wasn't enabled. I couldn't stop walking. Every step echoed like something ancient was breathing through the speakers. And then the creature spoke. Not through dialogue, through the sound, like words vibrating through bone. "You are part of him now." The screen flashed red. Then black, then red again, and our real names appeared, typed out in dripping text across the monitor. When the screen finally went dark for good, the PC shut itself down. Not crashed, shut down. We sat in silence. I don't even remember breathing. When I finally turned the computer back on, there was a new folder sitting on the desktop. It was labeled Dunwich. Inside, there was a single audio file. I played it. It was my voice, whispering, "He's still here," and the file date. It said it was recorded yesterday. So yeah, maybe it was an ARG. Maybe it was just clever horror design. But whatever that was, it knew too much. Let's just say we're never opening that game at night again. The fog swallowed everything around us, and the only thing guiding our way was that message burned into the top of the screen. "Find Whiteley House." It didn't tell us where it was. No compass, no marker. Just the sound of the wind howling through the empty streets. The buildings leaned over us like silent witnesses. Half of them looked half-eaten by rot, with walls that seemed to breathe when the fog drifted past. We walked past what looked like an old general store. The signs swung in the air, screeching each time it turned. Inside, behind the cracked windows, something moved. Just a flicker of motion, gone before we could focus. I whispered, "Did you see that?" He said nothing. I could hear him breathing through the mic fast. Uneven, the game's lighting was unreal. Everything was bathed in a dirty gray haze, except for the faint orange glow coming from the church up ahead. We followed it step by step, our characters' footsteps echoing like we were walking inside a giant empty hall. Then the church bell rang, once, twice, but the sound was wrong, warped, distant, like it was underwater. And the weirdest part, there was no church tower in sight, just a pile of rubble where it should have been. That's when we heard it, a child's laugh, soft, fragile, right behind us. We spun around, nothing but fog. No footsteps, no figure. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my headset. We kept moving, faster now. The game's environment started glitching in strange ways. Fences bending, shadows flickering, parts of the ground vibrating. But the most disturbing part was how organic it all looked. It didn't feel like code breaking. It felt like something beneath the game was alive and trying to get out. The whispers returned, only this time they weren't saying our names. They were repeating something else. Over and over again, it sounded like "He's born again." We didn't talk anymore, we just kept walking. The path curved up a hill where the fog grew darker, heavier. Then, out of nowhere, the game camera shifted, panning slightly toward the right, like it wanted us to notice something. There was a house in the distance, barely visible through the mist, but even from that far I could tell it wasn't like the others. The roof sagged inward, and strange symbols glowed faintly on its walls, like they were carved deep into the wood and burning from within. "Is that it?" my friend whispered. The objective text glitched on screen again, flashing for a split second. "He's inside." Then it flickered back to "Find the Wuddly house." We just stared at each other through the mics, both thinking the same thing. This game knew what we were doing. As we walked closer, the environment got worse. The sky turned this sick greenish-gray color, like the clouds were bruised. And the sound, oh God, the sound started layering in ways I can't even describe. You could hear whispers, chanting, distant screaming, and underneath it all, breathing. When we finally reached the gate, it creaked open by itself. No animation, just a loud metal screech that made my stomach drop. On the gatepost was a symbol drawn in black tar. It looked like an eye, except it was upside down. The game camera tilted again. We didn't move it. It just turned toward the front door. That's when something started tapping on my desk. Not from the game, from my desk. 3 knocks, evenly spaced. I froze. My friend whispered, "Dude, was that you?" I said no. And then, I swear this on everything, my character on screen walked forward by itself, right up to the door of the Wuddly house. The music stopped. All we could hear was the faint hiss of static. Then the game did something new. It gave us a prompt, knock to enter. We hesitated. Neither of us touched the keyboard, but after a few seconds the screen went black. Then came the sound. 3 slow, heavy knocks, like the house was answering us back. When the screen faded in again, the door was open. No objective, no dialogue, just darkness inside. We should have stopped. We both knew it, but instead I whispered, "Let's go in." And that's when everything started to unravel. The moment we stepped inside the Wuddly house, everything changed. It was dark, not lights off dark, but that thick, suffocating darkness where even the air feels heavy. The sound of our footsteps echoed like we were walking through a cathedral built underground. Every plank beneath us groaned, stretching the silence thinner and thinner until it felt like it could snap. The first thing I noticed was the smell. You know, when something's been damp for so long it smells alive. That, mixed with something else, something like copper. The flashlight flickered automatically, as if the game didn't want us to see everything at once. It kept teasing glimpses, a cracked mirror, a table covered in dust, and a portrait hanging crooked on the wall. The face in the portrait was faded, but the eyes they weren't. They were sharp, a little too sharp. We crept forward. There was no objective marker anymore, just the sound of the wind outside and the faint tick of a clock somewhere deeper in the house. Then a sudden knock, not behind us, not from the door, from inside the walls. We froze. I could hear my friend breathing into the mic, trying not to move. The knocking came again, closer this time, like something crawling through the wood. "Okay, it's just sound design," I whispered. But then the in-game clock chimed, and our mics glitched. Static crawled through the speakers, then a faint voice broke through it. Distorted, male, slow, it said, "He's still here." My friend laughed nervously, creepy but scripted, right. But when we checked the game's objective list, it was empty. Blank, no mission text, just one strange icon, an eye, blinking slowly in the corner of the screen. We moved toward the next room. There was a table in the center, candles melted down to black stubs, wax hardened like veins across the wood. On top of it, an old tape recorder, no label, no interaction prompt, just sitting there, waiting. Against my better judgment, I pressed E. The recorder clicked, then hissed, like it hadn't been used in decades. The voice that played was the same one from before, muffled, wet, and panicked. It said, "He's still here, he never left, don't let him." Then the recording cut out. The flashlight flickered again. Something moved behind us. I spun the camera, fast too fast, and for a fraction of a second, there was a figure standing in the hallway. Pale, tall, bent, and then gone. My friend whispered was that. I cut him off, don't, because if I said what I thought it was, it'd make it real. We backed up toward the door, but it was gone, literally gone. The wall had shifted. The entryway was sealed behind old planks now, nailed shut, pulsing faintly like the wood was alive. I said, okay, maybe it's a trap mechanic or puzzle, he said. Then why is it whispering? I stopped. The whispers were back, dozens of them, overlapping, male, female, childlike, all speaking at once. It sounded like a crowd praying backward. The tape recorder started playing again on its own, but this time it wasn't the voice of the man. It was mine, and I was saying, he's right behind you. I froze, every muscle in my body locked. My friend said, wait, did you record that earlier? No, I whispered. That's not me. And then the character's head, my in-game avatar, turned slightly, not a full turn. Just enough that we could see something moving in the reflection of the mirror, a shadow standing behind us. Breathing, we both fell silent. Neither of us touched a single key, but the game didn't care. The character kept moving. He turned around on his own, slow, mechanical, deliberate, and faced the thing behind him. The screen went black. Then text appeared in blood, red letters across the center. He sees you now. And when the screen faded back in, there were 2 characters on the screen. But we were still only 2 players, and the game wasn't multiplayer. Everything went black. No loading screen. No crash, just darkness. We waited 10 seconds, 20, then the faint sound of breathing filled the headset, slow, wet, uneven. It wasn't ours, it wasn't in-game either. It was too close. Then the screen came back to life, but everything was wrong. The house had changed. The walls were stretching, literally moving, like they were made of muscle, not wood. And the sound, it wasn't ambience anymore. It was whispering, constant, layered, like dozens of voices pressed against each other, all saying the same word, stay. I tried to open the pause menu. Nothing, no controls, no map. When I hit escape, the mouse moved, but not the way I moved it. It twitched on its own, gliding slowly to the corner of the screen. Then it clicked settings by itself. The game opened the mic tab, and the input icon lit up. I whispered, dude, it's listening. My friend didn't answer. For a moment, I thought he'd muted himself. Then I heard him whisper faintly, I can see something behind your character. I turned the camera, and there it was. Standing in the doorway, it wasn't the same figure as before. This one was taller, its limbs thin like wire, skin stretched so tight you could see the veins. It didn't move, didn't breathe, it just watched. The screen began to blur, like the game was shaking, or maybe it was me. We tried quitting again, Alt plus F4, Task Manager, nothing worked. The game absorbed every command like it was fighting us. Then my mic glitched, a burst of static so loud it made me flinch, and through the distortion came a deep, low voice, not through the game, through my headset. It said, you shouldn't have come here. My skin crawled. The room felt colder instantly, like all the heat was sucked out of the air. And then my lights flickered. For the first time, I actually stepped back from the screen. The voice repeated, this time clearer, angrier. You are not supposed to see him. Then the game showed something, a flash, just for a split second, of a face. Not a model, a real face, like a webcam feed buried inside the game's textures. My heart was pounding. I said, this isn't normal, right? This isn't scripted. Before I could finish, my friend yelled through the mic, dude, it's using your camera. I froze. My webcam light was on, the little red LED glowing. I didn't even have the webcam app open. The game was staring back. We ripped out the power cable at the same time. The monitor went black. I swear, even in the dark, I could still hear it, that breathing. Deep and slow, like it was right behind me. Then silence. For a few seconds, I thought it was over. Then my PC fan spun up again on its own. The screen flashed back to life. No icons, no desktop, just one window open. The game, but this time the title had changed. It didn't say the Dunwich Horror, it said Welcome Back. My stomach dropped. I whispered, "No way," and then the new objective appeared, glowing faintly in red text at the top of the screen. "He is awake." That's when my friend said quietly, "Something's behind you." I turned both in-game and in real life, and what I saw on the screen made my blood run cold. Because the reflection in the in-game mirror wasn't my character anymore, it was me. The reflection moved first. Not me, it blinked even though I hadn't. Then it smiled, that slow, unnatural grin that stretches wider than a human mouth should. My headset filled with distortion, whispering, reversed voices, something scratching metal. I shouted, "Turn it off, turn it off." My friend said he was trying, but he couldn't even move his mouse. On screen, my reflection tilted its head the same way the thing in the house had. It lifted a hand, palm toward the camera, like it was pressing against the glass from the other side. Then tap, 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 the sound came from my monitor, not the speakers. It was inside the screen. I backed away, heart pounding so hard it hurt. My chair creaked. Then, for just a second, the reflection wasn't alone anymore. Something enormous moved behind it, towering, with too many limbs, shapes that didn't make sense. Like it didn't belong in 3D space, it leaned close to the camera. My vision warped. The lights in my room dimmed. The monitor's glow pulsed like a heartbeat, and the voice came again, deeper this time, resonating through my bones. "He sees you now." Every instinct screamed at me to run. But curiosity, that same pull Lovecraft always wrote about, kept me frozen. I whispered, "Who are you?" No answer. Just static. Then, a single phrase appeared in the game's chat box, like someone was typing live. "He was never meant to be forgotten." My friend whispered, "Dude, this is some ARG thing, right? Some Easter egg." I wanted to believe that. I needed to, but then his mic cut off mid-sentence, just a burst of feedback and silence. On screen, the reflection of me started typing, "You brought him back." And then, my webcam feed, my real face appeared in the top corner of the game, except it wasn't live. It was delayed, like something was watching, buffering, waiting. I pulled the plug again. Nothing. Even without power, the screen stayed on, dim, flickering, like it was running off something else. That's when my phone lit up. It buzzed once, and on the lock screen, I saw a notification from an unknown number. "Do not look outside." My breath caught. Because I hadn't told anyone about the game, and my blinds were half open, I turned toward the window, every nerve in my body telling me don't. But I had to. Outside, the world looked wrong. The trees were bending the wrong direction. The sky pulsed faintly red, and in the fog beyond my yard, a figure stood. Tall, still staring. Then my monitor flickered again, and the words appeared one last time. "He is here." I spun back, and my reflection was gone. Only the room behind me, empty. Then, from my headset, a soft whisper, "Turn around." My heart stopped. Because that voice, it wasn't from the game. It was right behind me. I didn't want to turn around. Every instinct, every ounce of common sense screamed, "Don't," but my body didn't listen. I turned slowly. There was nothing. No one behind me, but the air felt wrong, heavy, thick, like breathing through water. And that smell, like old paper and rot. The same scent from inside the game's house. I looked back at the monitor. It was glowing faintly again. The reflection was back, but it wasn't me anymore. It was older, pale. Eyes black like ink, staring directly at me, and then it spoke. But this time, its lips didn't move. The voice came from the speakers, low and trembling. "You let him out." The image on screen started to decay, pixels melting, shapes distorting into static. Behind the reflection, the walls of that cursed digital house collapsed in on themselves, like reality was folding. My speakers exploded with noise, whispers, screams, the same breathing from before. Then everything froze. The game crashed, and for the first time in hours, my room went completely dark. I just sat there staring at the blank screen, too scared to breathe. I checked my phone, the notification was gone, the fog outside had vanished, and my friend finally came back online. He typed only one thing, "It's not over." Then he logged off. His account went offline, permanently. I tried to message him later, but his profile didn't exist anymore. Deleted, gone, like he'd never been there. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak in the house made me flinch. At one point, I swore I heard whispering through the vent, that same layered sound from the game. And when I checked my PC the next morning, the game was still there, not in the library, not on my desktop. Hidden in a folder I didn't create, titled simply He Waits, exe. I didn't open it. I didn't even hover over it. I just stared and noticed the timestamp. It had updated while I was asleep. So, yes, safe to say, we're never opening that game at night again. But if you ever see the Dunwich Horror listed anywhere, even as a free indie demo, do yourself a favor and don't click download. Because some stories, they don't want to be played, they want to continue